Hello and welcome to this episode of the Magnetic Woman Show. I am so excited today because I have Heather Alison, who's a philosopher, a shamanic guide, and a teacher of the Primordial Feminine Mysteries. So her work rests on this simple and very radical premise that the reality has an underlying sacred creative intelligence. And we work with that intelligence and we're able to co-create everything that we're meant for, our deepest desires. They get to unfold naturally without push, hustle, or trying to make it happen. And I am so excited to have Heather on because we have just been already chatting about so much before I pressed record, especially when it comes to this idea of feminine mysteries and, really being a woman who stands in her power in the world. So, welcome, Heather. I'm so excited to dive in. So, before we really get into the meat of it, I would love to hear a little bit more about you and how you came into this work.
Oh my God, that's a story. Do you have
I'm
some,
sure.
do you have something to drink?
Yes,
Because
absolutely. I have water, but
pull up a
everybody's closet
chair,
gets get a glass of wine. Let's go.
pull up a chair. I mean,
Yes.
I try to nutshell this as much as I can, but basically it was kind of a series of really miraculous happenings, if you will, because I never thought about becoming a coach. I never sought out to become a coach. I really just was kind of tired of getting my love life wrong, if you will. I was married, really toxic and damaging marriage. And I was with him for like 19 years.
Wow.
And I know. And then finally extricated myself from that relationship, had a couple other relationships after that that were, you know, varying degrees of really beautiful and lovely. But ultimately didn't last either. And like there was just some point, I think I was probably like 38 or 39 or something like that. And I was like, what is actually happening right now? Like, why can't I figure this out? And you do your middle of the night Googling about like
Of
finding
course.
something. Well, I found this woman's work and it was very archetypally based and as we know now, which is like very like polarity work and stuff like that. But I was completely new to it. I had never heard of such a thing, never heard of such a thing back at that point. And something about it just like sang to me a bit. And I started kind of exploring the work that she did. And then I started kind of like toying around with it and playing with it and kind of trying some things on and things started shifting in my dating life. And I was like, okay. And plus, and just in my own, like I started dating a guy. I dated him for like 2 months. I started dating this guy who I thankfully realized was just like my ex-husband. But
Mhm.
I'm like, but I clocked it in 2 months instead of
That's
in 19
amazing.
years. Right. I was
That's
like, okay,
amazing.
thank God.
Yes.
And so like so many things shifted within me that I was like, I need all of this information. How do I get all of this information? And I looked on her site and she did a coach training program. And I'm like, well, I had a good job. Like I didn't even know coaching was an industry. And so I was like, I'm just gonna sign up for this because I want that. I figured that's how I'm gonna get all of the data, right? Like I just want all of the
Absolutely.
information.
Yeah.
Well, and this is where the miracle started happening because like fast forward 6 months waiting for this course to start, I got laid off from my job the month before, the week before. No, it was the day freaking
No
before
way.
this started. It was the day before. I was like, how did that? No, it was the day before. And I was like, okay, universe, I see you. What this is weird, but okay, we're gonna go with this. And so I did. I just hauled off and became a coach in like based in these archetypal energetics and specifically for love and dating and romance.
Mhm.
And then about 8 months after that, I had a massive spiritual awakening and started being taught by this man on the other side that I call my cosmic teacher.
Yeah.
I don't really identify him to anybody, but he started like teaching me all this stuff and like blew the doors off of what I understood about these archetypes and of the limiting kind of they're not that that's wrong, but it was just like there was so much more. And so then my work became like evolved into this like it's not just for love and relationship, it's literally relationship with everything, and it's the archetypal patterning underneath every single thing that we do, and our relationship with life itself and our relationship with our soul and our soul calling and the things that we came here into this lifetime to have and to be and to do and deliver and like all of that. So my work got much bigger and still continues to evolve, but yes, that's been I've been doing for about 10 years now. Which is
Amazing.
crazy. Yeah.
It's so fascinating, right? When things line up in that way, where you're like, wow, I just wanted this one thing. Like, I thought
Yeah.
you would just tell me what I was doing to F up relationships. And now, on the other side, 10 years later, here we are talking about something so much deeper, so much broader, so much more than I ever thought possible.
That you couldn't ever see coming. Like
Yeah,
I
there's,
had no design on this. Like I didn't know. Like, I could never in a million years have
yeah,
told you that like, oh, maybe someday I'll be a mystic and I'll be guiding mystery schools for women. And I'm actually
absolutely.
writing a book right now called Meant for You, which is kind of like synthesizing a lot of what I understand now based on the work that I do and the teachings I've received and the things that I teach that kind of clarify or help women tap into the same kind of stuff that I did. I didn't know that I was tapping into, like
Mhm.
to allow for my calling, my purpose, the things I was meant for to unfold for me instead of me kind of being in this place of like hunting and pecking and trying to figure out how to get and how to
Wow.
make things happen that I want to have happen. Or, you know, we have these big dreams or we have these desires, and then we get like furrowed brow, like, you know, eyes to the ground, like, how do I build this? How do I get there? How do I make this happen? And that actually ends up cutting us off from the magic that we're trying to kind of cultivate in our life in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm curious for you because whatever it is that you're creating in your life or want to create or want to draw in, you have to take action, right? You have
Yeah.
to do something. So I'm curious for you, Heather, how do you kind of dance between staying open for the magic and then also, especially for entrepreneurs specifically or women who are wanting to create some kind of movement or
Mhm.
found something like a female founder, there's strategy, there's action, there is
Yeah.
that kind of more linear, and I will not use the word masculine because I this is like one of my biggest pet peeves. This is a hill I will die on. There's like 85 million hills of them, but this hill is this idea that the masculine is the only strategic thinker, and it's like, I'm sorry, have you ever met a woman? Like one of my favorite like quotes and lines was when Reese Witherspoon was talking about how she started her own production company because she was constantly getting scripts and seeing shows where some big conflict would happen and the woman would turn to the man and go, "What do we do now?"
Yes, I
She's
remember
like,
seeing that.
and she's
Yes.
like, "What woman actually does
Yeah.
that?" You know what I mean? So I won't say that the idea of like linear strategy or like taking action is masculine. And I personally, and I would love your thoughts on this as well, think it's a dance, right? Staying open between them for the magic and the universe, the divine, the goddess,
Yeah.
and then taking action and kind of like being focused towards what it is you want slash what you want to create. So I'm curious, what does that dance look like for you, or do you identify it as something else?
So I'm like, oh my God, where do I start? Because I feel like there are like three different things that want to come through. I'll share with you my perspective, not to like
Mhm.
disagree, but I will share with you my perspective
No,
around
please.
feminine and masculine and why the way those terms are being used is so incorrect in
Yeah.
my book. Not like physical book, but you know what I mean.
Right, right, right.
But I want to say first that, well, maybe I should start with that one. For me, the bottom line is this is always the challenge, right? Like synthesizing and like nutshelling really big mystery based kind of
Mhm.
ideals and ideas and principles and philosophies and stuff like that. But the bottom line is for me, it's like we want to lead with the expansive thing first. So it's like I work with a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs. I work with a lot of leaders, even in corporate, where that, you know, being guided, being intuitive, the feminine, like any whatever you want to call it, is kind of conditioned out. It's like
Yep.
squeezed out so that it's very like production based and kind of more in alignment with machine. Like you just get it done and you don't emotions don't belong here and like all of that and go by spreadsheet and math and what you can like, you know, what the algorithm tells you and not by intuition or anything like that. Um, so I work with a lot of women who are trying to build things that are traditionally very linear.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, the bottom line is that we want to start with the thing that's expansive first, and then bring in the linear, bring in the strategy, bring in the action, bring in the whatever it is that is more linear, more masculine, whatever you want to call it, to carry that out. But if we're starting with the linear, then we're starting with narrowness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then it's much harder to actually be agile, to be working with possibility energetics, to be expansive, to be kind of rising above just like knee jerk and primal kind of survival instincts and things like that. So if we're not working with the expansive first and we're staying in the narrow and the linear, and it's way harder to grow and it's way harder to receive and it's way harder to experience the magic. But if you start with the
Mhm.
expansive, if you start with the magic, if you start with the feminine, if you start with the like possibility, if you start with soul, if you start with any of those things that are of the primordial feminine mysteries,
Yeah. Yes.
and then bring in the linear as the support or as like the mechanism to support and carry that out, then you're like co-creating, then you're really compounding the expansion that you're desiring. And no, I will say, just like I still do use the feminine and masculine terms. One of my, and I did a post about this the other day, which is like the for me, the reason why we have any kind of resistance to using terms, because I see this all the time, like the argument of like, why are we still fucking genderizing
Yes.
energy? And it's like, and like I get it, but for me, the resistance and the rejection of the idea of feminine and masculine energetics is down to two things. One is that it's men and women,
Right.
right? When the truth of the matter is these are creation principles, they are not human construct
Yeah. Right.
principles. And so we all have both of them within us. And so that's the first one. So basically, we're in resistance to these terms because of patriarchal trauma.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the first is that these things are just man or woman and that they have
Yeah.
anything to do with gender. And the second, oh, where did that just go? The second one is, oh, shoot. Oh, that one is lesser than the other.
Yes.
So the only reason, if you can imagine, like the only reason anybody would be like, I don't want to be identified with this or that is because one of these things has been valued higher than the other.
Exactly. Yeah.
And because you have to pick a side. And that's just not how these are designed to work. They are, again, they're creation principles. And so, the next question I always get is then like, well, why do we need those terms in the first place? Well, these are archetypes. Like these are archetypes that our human psyche connects with, and they carry information and they carry wisdom and the only reason archetypes are powerful to work with is recognition
Yeah.
because we can see ourselves in it or we can feel something of ourselves in it. And so the combination of those things, it's like when we come away from the ways that patriarchy has trained us and conditioned us to see these terms and to see what feminine and masculine actually mean, um, and to come back into understanding like how archetypes actually work, they carry a lot of medicine and a lot
Yeah.
of like wisdom and a lot of expansion for us. But we have to remember that like every human has both. It's not about picking a side. It's not about slotting you into one template or another and like following a bunch of rules, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think that that's one of like the biggest problems that I've seen over the course of the last 5, 6-ish years with
Mhm.
however you want to label it, polarity content, masculine, feminine content, is that it's just become another way to further patriarchy,
Yeah.
misogyny, and keep people in like really prescriptive boxes and really, and for a lot of women, keeping a lot of women in that like constantly striving, searching for perfectionism. If I'm just feminine enough,
Yep.
then I'll get what I want. If I just communicate in a feminine way, he'll really show up for me when the reality is they're with a man who like is emotionally stunted and just
Mhm.
cannot show up for them in that way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I think that um unfortunately like everything you said, yes, and unfortunately the archetypes get not diluted, but like warped into this then like instead of
Totally.
seeing the archetype as something to help for me to identify with or to help guide me, it becomes this prescriptive box for
Yes.
me to try and live into.
Yep.
And the goalpost continually moves, especially when it comes to the feminine.
Yep.
And I just think like there's been so much distortion
Yeah.
with these
A
terms.
million percent. I mean, this is literally like everything that I do. Like I actually have
Yes.
a masterclass coming up
Oh,
soon
amazing.
called Prima, because I call them the Prima archetypes because they're the very first things after creation, right? So I work here with what I call the archetypal trinity, which is like creator archetype or primordial feminine, and then the two like very first steps from the
Yeah.
primordial goo, if you will, is into the this like
I
masculine
love that.
feminine, into the first principles of creation. And this masterclass, I mean, and like my work in general is like all about kind of coming back into like what their true form really is and how they're actually supposed to be worked with, and like and really like bringing us back out of the depths of like the distortion of these, because they are patriarchally commodified and
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
not really the word I wanted, but co-opted
Yes.
into these templates and this rule book that actually is all about continuing more and more and more of the patriarchal ideal. And if we're not getting on top of that, then like everything, like every, I mean, you could say that about so many things, but if we're not getting on top of that and coming back to kind of like the true roots, if you will, of what these teachings are really about, then I don't know, like I just feel like then we're losing such rich depth and like ancient wisdom. And I'm not fucking willing to go down that way. Like I'm not willing to let patriarchy say, like, I'm gonna take this and misuse it and abuse
Yeah.
it and twist it and distort it and co-opt it for my own means. And so therefore, like not use it because I'm gonna get like I am getting louder about it. Like I'm just like
Yes.
it's too important, you know?
It's way too
And I
important.
also feel like it's this is how we come back to our what I call our like true creator power. Because if we're not, I don't know, if we're not going back to like the beginning, you know, in consciousness, in psyche, in our energetics, in creation principles themselves, not the co-opted kind of hyper religious ones, but like nature
Yeah.
creation, then we're just trying to fight from within the cogs, if that makes sense, of the machine.
Yeah. No, it makes
Yeah.
so much sense. And I was telling Heather before we started recording, and I've done so much content on this, and I have podcast episodes on it. So if you're curious, go back. But, the past 2 years, I've been in like this void space in my business because I was doing a lot of coaching around feminine energy and the feminine through the lens of dating and relationships. And then I was like watching all this distortion happen, and I was like, this is not what I want to be talking about anymore anyway, in terms of dating and
Yeah.
relationship. And over the last years, especially the last year since the inauguration and this rise of Christian nationalized polarity content that, yeah, you're hearing it on TikTok, but you're also hearing it in your mega church. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh God. And so I was like, do I even want to use the word feminine anymore? Because I feel like, and then I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. If I'm not using it, then they're the only ones using it. And this is the
Exactly.
only version that women are having access to. And it's like,
Exactly.
absolutely not. Like, I cannot allow that to happen. And, before we press record, Heather and I were also talking about how we're both manifestors in human design. And I do think that there is something so, coincidental, but not really at all, that two manifestors who are
Hmm.
in the human design system, the initiators,
Hmm.
are out here being like, whoa, 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 guys. Let's rein it in and come back to the truth of these words, these energies, these archetypes, and like really look at what it is that we're consuming around these archetypes, what it is we're expecting from these archetypes and these energies, and like how or in what way is that
Yeah.
distorted. So I'm so happy that you're doing a training around this
Yeah.
because it's so, so important. So I'm curious for you, what do you see happen for women when they kind of come out of or unhook from the more patriarchal polarity work and come
Hmm.
back into this primordial, like, authentic isn't the word, but this. original version
Hmm.
of the work? Like
Yeah.
what do you see happen for them, or how do things shift for them?
Well, you just channeled me because that's what I call it the original pattern. Like this is
Perfect.
literally
Yes.
like
Yes.
what you
Yes.
return to is like returning us to the original pattern because that's where that's where like if you think, okay, so this is the highest level. Because
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, where do I start? Because I work with a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs who are trying to bring through like soul work, like stuff that I'm entrusted with this work or this is coming from my soul level. It's not just like, here's what I'm going to figure out what to sell. It's like there's something bigger and deeper and like higher that they're here to bring through. I also work with women who want to call in love or heal their relationships. I work with women who just know that there's supposed to be a lot more magic that they're supposed to have like access to and be able to like work with and walk with. Um, and all of the things happen
Mhm.
here because we're working with that original pattern. And here's the like the overarching kind of premise, if you will, of my work is that like connecting back to and reattuning us to the original pattern is how we clear all the interference, if you will, between like who we are and what we came here for. Like what our soul came here to this world for. It's I call it a destiny accelerator because it's literally like we are when we're down here operating in like the current conditioned patriarchal hyper masculine like machine like ways of doing life, not only can we not hear what our true like guidance is, our true calling, our true guidance is, we are playing by the rules of a game down here that has never been designed for us to win. We are operating in a crazy amount of like linearity and just manufacturing like this step, then this step, then this. Like we are cut off from our sacred more, if you will. Like everything gets harder, everything feels heavier, everything gets darker, everything is just like so much more blocked and difficult, and it feels like there's all the shit in the way. And so the work that I do is basically like clearing out all that interference by connecting us back to the like what's real and true and like capital N natural, if you will, for us and how we're designed to operate. So my spiritual entrepreneurs end up like finally like no longer believing the bullshit bro marketing, like you have to do it this way, you're supposed, this is the way that you have to be doing it if you want to succeed. And they start bringing through their own like soul work in and marketing it and offering it and structuring it and like creating frameworks for it that feel like them and that feel like what they're actually supposed to be doing here. And like the beautiful thing is like when you do that, like that's when soul starts like, you know, creating miracles for you basically. Like that's when shit starts to align is because like I'm doing the things that are the most deeply aligned with why I came here in the first place. And now things are unfolding and the path is opening for me in ways that it's designed to. And so yeah, and women call in their lover, they call in their partners. They deepen or heal their relationships if they're already in one. They have their psychic gifts come online,
Ah,
and yeah, oh, it's like I had a woman in Golden Goddess once who came in with like really profound PTSD and CPTSD, and ended up both like she's actually been one of my longest term like lifer clients, but ended up healing through so much of that, finding herself again and healing out of a lot of the traumatic patterning that she and like traumatic experiences that she was constantly experiencing, and then also activated her intuition in a way that like she actually can pick up information from touching things. She's like,
wow.
that's new. Like that is nothing I thought would have
Ah,
ever happened. Yeah, now she works at like some institute that like is all about like the esoterics and metaphysics and stuff like that. It's magical. But I mean like that's what I'm saying. Like that's
yeah.
it's like destiny accelerated. That was her path that she gets to walk. Other women have, you know, um birthed their soul work, written
Yeah.
books, like, all kinds of things. Yeah. Because I'm
Absolutely.
like, where do I begin? But it's basically that. The overarching pattern is that whatever they're meant for starts to crystallize and starts to open up for them.
I I love that so much. And what I'm hearing too is when we decondition and strip back from patriarchal, capitalistic, white supremacy conditioning, especially when it comes to polarity, masculine, feminine, the energetics, we get to come back to, as you said, the original essence, the original source, and put ourselves on this path of truly what we're here to do. And for me, like one of the things I took away from what you said, I'm gonna have a hair, is
Mhm.
all of the wounding that we have from the patriarchy as well is healed or is healing. So I find a lot for women, and I call this one of the core wounds of the feminine is like the denial of and disconnection from our psychic and
Yeah.
spiritual gifts.
Yeah.
Because for hundreds, if not thousands of years, a woman embracing her psychic or spiritual gifts would have gotten her killed, stoned, burned at the stake. And then when they stopped doing that, they just locked them in institutions and threw the
Mhm.
key away, right?
Yep.
So even for myself, excuse me, on my own spiritual journey, and I was raised Catholic, went through 10 years of Catholic school, right? So I constantly come up against the like, oh my God, this is crazy. I don't want to
Yeah.
be crazy.
Right.
Oh God, people are going to think I'm crazy. And then sub thing, oh, all the crazy Christians are going to come after me with
Yeah.
pitchforks, you know?
Right. Right.
And so what I'm hearing, right, is like all of the wounding and the conditioning that we're holding from patriarchy, from capitalism, once you start to help women return back to this creator
Mhm.
energy, the primordial energies, that just kind of like dissipates out as well.
Yeah.
And these parts of ourselves that we've repressed, disconnected from, been terrified to embrace,
Mhm.
not only emerge, but like you get to help these women, or you do help these women embrace these aspects of self that they may never have done in this lifetime
Yeah.
had they not come into this work in this
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. There are like two side by side visions I always get for this, which is
Yeah.
one is that this work places you on this beautiful, like gorgeous, beautiful, like sunshine laden path in nature, which is like your soul path,
Yes.
right? And then the other thing is it starts like popping off all of these like chains or these hooks, or like you kind of start like going, oh right, like the all of the shit, all the conditioning, all the patriarchal stuff, all of the traumas, all the like the things that traditionally, like even if I put you on that path, but we didn't do that part, it would be such a slog. It would be so hard to walk that because there's all these things like dragging you back and dragging you back down and pulling you back down into all the patterns and loops and like downward spirals and thoughts and blah. And so it's like it's the combination of those two things. It's this like I don't know, I just get always these kind of like cinematic visions.
Yeah.
As one is
Yeah.
like this beautiful summery like birds singing, sunshine shining, like that's your soul path, but also it's the releasing of all this all these hooks and cords and chains and shit that keep dragging you down in the first place. And it's the marriage of those two.
Ugh,
And I love that you brought that in because it's like I like I said in the event you just had,
yeah.
coming back into our mystical gifts is actually one of the last things that the patriarchy can actually distort because it's a direct relationship with the divine. It's a direct relationship with soul. It's a direct relationship with nature. It's a direct relationship with like our ancient wisdom, ancestral wisdom, like all of that. And it's one of the last things that patriarchy can't actually get its hands on, aside from having us feel like we're crazy or
Right.
like being afraid of being attacked for it.
Right.
But other than that, it's like such a personal relationship.
Mhm.
And like it felt so empowering when that dropped in right before that event that I was like, right,
Yeah.
that's like the last vestige of like this is one of the things that they actually can't get their hands on,
They've
you
tried
know?
so
Right,
hard.
right.
That's why and how they invented religion, right? And
Hmm.
that's why the Abrahamic religions are like, no women in charge.
Right.
No women at the
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
Um, and I see this, and I'm curious your thoughts as well. Like, I see that hierarchical structure of you can only access the divine through something outside of you kind of applied to a lot of new age spirituality as well, right?
Yeah.
Where that's the whole like guru mentality, this whole idea of like, and even see this a lot with like, and I don't personally use these words again because it's gotten so distorted, but the divine feminine, like a
Yeah.
lot of things that are like they say talk about the goddess, and it's like, baby girl, you just took patriarchal religion and
Mhm.
slapped a goddess on top.
Yeah.
Like You
Yeah,
know, this we gotta turn the whole thing upside down
million
because it's
percent.
not about going outside of yourself or up and out of the body, but
Mm-hmm.
down and in, and that personal, intimate, individual connection to the divine
Mm-hmm.
that you're right, like the patriarchy can't take it away from us. However, they have tried. So I'm
Yeah.
curious. I know you said that that's one of like the last things that comes on for women, but I think that a lot of women hear that whisper, feel that like intuitive knowing of like there's something else, there's something more. As you said, like women come to you because they're like, I know there should be more magic in the world
Yeah.
right now, and like
Yeah.
I'm just not
Yeah.
experiencing it.
Life is not supposed to be like this. Right.
Yes.
And it's not one of the last things that comes on for women. It's just one of the last things that the patriarchy can actually get their
Oh,
hands
yes.
on.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
like we have, because it's designed for every single one of us. Like we are all designed to have connection and communion with something greater. And where was I going with this? Oh, one of the things, I'm so glad that you said that, because that's one of the things too that I'm like such a deep believer in, and that this work is all about too, is because like I don't do healing for my clients. This work hands them back to themselves and hands them into their own ability to like commune and to receive their guidance and to receive wisdom from the unseen realms, and to heal themselves and to do their own soul retrieval. Like it's not, I am not doing this for you. I am teaching you how to source for yourself. I'm handing you back into your own power. I'm handing you back into your own wisdom. I'm handing you back into your own magic, and not reliance upon somebody else to be able to give it to you or to be able to give you access to it. Like so important, full stop. Like
Yes.
I honestly, I don't like when it comes to, I mean, if I really, 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 I'm not going to say never, because if I really, really needed help, like if I really couldn't figure, and it's not that I don't work with people, but I work with people who, like, again, hand me back to myself, who are
Exactly.
only about reflecting me back to my own power and only about handing me back into my own abilities. But if I really needed a healer, do you know? I'm not saying there's not like there's something inherently wrong with that, but it would be a rarity. It would be like a, this is dire. I need like an elder, wise
Yeah, I've
person of
tried all these
some,
other things, and this is
right.
coming through now.
But like to always be going to somebody else for my intuitive guidance or my healing, or like, can you clear this thing from me or whatever, like that's just actually, it's like poisoning the waters and handing you the antidote at the same time. It's like, here's the antidote, but I'm going to give you another, like, I'm gonna remove this hook, add this one. Like it's just, it's not actually getting us out of the cycle in the first place.
Right. And I think a lot of that is born from a scarcity mentality. The people who are often selling the like, yeah, it's through me that you get XYZ.
Hmm.
It's through me that you experience this healing or have this,
Right.
massive awakening because it's like, well, I'm terrified if people, I mean, quite frankly, I think it's the same reason why they invented religion. It's like if people know that they can just access this directly, they're not going to listen, they're not going to pay attention. And for some people, it's like I'm not going to get paid. There's this like scarcity
Yeah.
mentality of
It's
like,
predatory. Yeah.
yeah, very
Mhm.
much predatory. So I'm so happy that you do the work that you do it in the way that you do it. And I feel like I could talk to you. I know I could talk to you all day long. And I want to be really conscious of your time and everybody listening. So as we begin to wrap up, Heather, is there anything left that you want to share? Anything left coming up or that you want to cover?
I would say, because the women who come here to me, and I do work with men too, but it's just in a little bit of a different way. We adjust
Yeah,
things so that it, because
of
the
course.
spaces are for women specifically. But like I would say that the women who come here, they have a calling of some kind. There's some sort of like ache, some sort of like, wait, I know that there's supposed to be some, like, I know I'm supposed to have that, or I know that this is supposed to be my path, or I know that this is my purpose, or they can feel that they have a purpose and they can't figure out like how to identify what that is. Like, I just want to tell everybody, anybody listening, that if there is even a tiny little whisper of something along those lines for you, 1,000,000% true. And it's going to ask you for a lot more releasing linear mind, linear brain, linear like thinking mind and figuring out, and working with a lot more nonlinear things that are not very comfortable for us because we're never taught how to. But your purpose, your calling, your soul path is 1,000,000%, like a million percent in store for you. And please don't ever start doubting that. I mean, start doubting that because we will, because we're cute little
Of
humans
course.
and we doubt things, but please don't let yourself continue to doubt that. Please don't let yourself ever like pass that by or think that it's like, well, I missed the window because it's not true.
Ugh, so good. I think I needed to hear that. So
Okay, good.
thank you for that.
You're
I hope
welcome.
everybody else enjoyed it as much as I did. I want to thank you all so much for being here for this. Please go follow Heather on social media. Have all of her socials in the descriptions and the show notes because her work is so incredible, so profound. Every time I see her content come up, I'm hooked in, and it's so beautiful, so well written, so clear. And so do yourself a favor and get into Heather's world. Heather, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, love.
This has been so good. And I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and we'll see you next time.